All right, my name is Heather Gray, and the program is Just Peace. I'm here with co-producer Ernest Dunkley, and tonight our plan has been actually to talk about Jamil Al-Amin, which we are going to be doing. In a moment, we're going to hear from Bilal Sunni Ali. He'll be calling in to the studio. He worked closely with Jamil Al-Amin. This is actually the 20th anniversary of this killing that took place March the 16th, 2000, actually in Atlanta. And he was accused of killing Ricky Kinchin, who was a deputy sheriff here in Atlanta. And the strange thing, I'm just going to put this out here, Bilal, is that Otis Jackson, who was in the same location, he actually admitted to this killing, but I'm convinced that the powers that be wanted to get Jamil Al-Amin in prison. We'll go into that. I mean, he's just too powerful a guy, too influential. So, so we want to hear your opinion, of course, about this. But now, Jamil Al-Amin is the former H-Rap Brown, and a lot of us who are older and in the movement knew, of course, about the great H-Rap Brown. And I'm going to just say some other stuff here too, Bilal. Bear with me for a moment. His brother Ed Brown was a very dear friend of mine, and he was also just incredibly involved in movement work. He was head of the Voter Education Project here in Atlanta. I worked with him during the anti-apartheid movement years, against what was happening in South Africa, and any number of other projects that I was fortunate to spend some time and work with Ed Brown on. Well, now, Bilal Sunni Ali, I've known Bilal for a long time as well, and just so always impressed with the work that he's done. He's also a musician. He had a program here at WRFG with his wife, Fulani, for a long time, and I knew them way back then when I first became a part of WRFG in the early 1990s. And so Bilal, you're just remarkable as well. So, all right, now tell us about your involvement with Jamil Al-Amin.
Well, first let me say I seek refuge in Allah against misleading and being misled, and I seek refuge in Allah against the oppression and being led into oppression and misguided into oppression. And we can remind people that Imam Jamil would always remind us that the worst form of oppression is self-oppression. Self-oppression meaning that you allow someone else to dictate you the terms on which you struggle to end that oppression. If you let your oppressor, you let the one who's causing the oppression, who's bringing about the oppression, tell you how to get out of it, you'll never get out of it. So with that, I want to say that I've known Imam Jamil from the time that he was H-Rap Brown. I've known him for quite a while. Well, it's about 50 years. Wow. Yeah, wow, 50 years. We're in the golden age. We call it the golden age of our liberation struggle. They always use 50 to be the golden age of marriages and the golden age of relationships. So we're in the golden age of our liberation struggle. We've been celebrating the 50th anniversary of many different organizations and formations in the liberation movement for the past 4 or 5 years. And we'll continue to be celebrating 50th anniversary, for a good while now. But this is the 20th anniversary of this particular episode in the life of H-Rap Brown, now known as Imam Jamil. And what he had been doing since he had gotten out of prison the last time. We call him a political prisoner, but he calls himself a prisoner at war, because it's been a continuous war for him all of the years that he's been in prison. And I'd say most of the time that I've known him, he's been in and out of prison, but not for criminal things, but for engaging in struggle for self-determination. So the first time I knew of him was when the FBI had conjured up this I then made him number one on the top 10 FBI wanted list for a incident that took place, stemmed from an incident that took place in Cambridge, Maryland, in which he was shot in the head. He was shot with gunshot pellets. Some people may remember pictures of H. Rap Brown with a patch over his forehead. That patch was to cover the wound of when police ambushed him and shot him in Cambridge, Maryland, and then pursued with a long, drawn-out trial of trumped-up charges, which they later admitted that they were trumped-up charges, but by then he had spent quite a number of years in prison. And then the next time was it was when he was involved with trying to curb the dope traffic, very heavily involved in trying to curb the dope traffic. I remember when he was in New York when the international office of SNCC headquarters, this headquarters was in Washington, D.C., but the international office was in New York. And when he was chairman, he spent quite a bit of time up there in New York, but he spent a lot of that time in the community, not downtown at the SNCC office, but up in Harlem. And he got involved with everybody. He knew just about everybody. And one of the things he was deeply involved in was talking to people about the need to stop the flow of drugs in our community. And at a meeting with some drug dealers, they claimed that he had robbed the place where the meeting was. And they shot him again. They shot him in the stomach.
Wow.
Of that.
But I tell you what,
yeah.
we're going to come back. We just need to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just 1 second, okay? Stay tuned. Again, my name is Heather Gray, and the program is Just Peace, and I'm here with co-producer Ernest Dunkley, and we're talking this evening about Imam Jamil Al-Amin. We have on the line Bilal Sunni Ali, who is known Jamil Al-Amin since the 1960s, right, Bilal?
Yeah.
Since the 1960s, really. So we were talking about what happened up in the north, so let's get back to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying at that second time when he was arrested and went to jail, he had been shot again by the police. He had been shot in the stomach. And it's a long graphic story of how they pulled his intestines out and all that. And we're at a time when we got time to talk about the entire story of his life. We can bring all of that up. But this latest time, there were a few more times when they came and tried to put him in jail. But this latest was 20 years ago tonight, 16th, 2000. There was a shooting incident in which Deputy Sheriff Richie Kinchin was killed, but the surviving sheriff of that same shooting incident, Ricky Kinchin, was partners with Algernon English. And Algernon English, who was the surviving deputy in that shooting incident, and he made the claim that he shot his assailant. I want to say that Algernon English was not only a sheriff deputy for Fulton County, but he was an ex-Marine. He served in the Marines, and his mark of distinction in being a Marine was that he was a sharpshooter, that he was an expert sharpshooter. When he hit his mark, you know he hit his mark. So he claimed that he hit his mark that night. When this person assailed him, he said that he shot him twice in the chest. This is an ex-Marine marksman, shot him twice in the chest and once in the head. So that could not have been Imam Jamil Al-Amin, because Imam Jamil Al-Amin, when he was apprehended on March the 20th, 4 days later, in Whitehall, Alabama, he was not shot. He had not had any gunshot wounds since some 30 years prior to that that had taken place in New York, in the incident that I just described a few moments ago. But during that time, he was involved in continuing to be involved in the efforts to stop the flow of drug traffic and the activity that usually relates to drug trafficking, burglaries, prostitutions, murders, robberies, and so all of that activity that the West End of Atlanta had been known for was now known for being a peaceful community because of the efforts that had been established by H. Rap Brown, who is now known as Imam Jamil Al-Amin. Imam Jamil Al-Amin was the imam of the community which got started, and they chose him as the leader. He was to lead the imam is one who leads the prayer. That's what it technically means, but he's also the religious leader and social leader in the community. And an emir is one who is a political leader and social leader in the community. So he was the emir and the imam, not only of our community in Atlanta, but he was the emir of a national community of Islamic communities around the country, around North America, and within the Caribbean as well. And one of the efforts that he was leading was to establish an economic-based, a land-based Islamic village. And that village was to be housed in Whitehall, Alabama. If we got a few minutes, I would just like to read a part of it, the beginning of a statement concerning this project.
Absolutely. Please do.
It says, all praises are for Allah, Azza wa Jalla, and we extend our salutations upon Muhammad, the messenger of Allah. Peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Peace be on all who follow the guidance. This project is being developed under the leadership and administration of Imam Jamil Al-Amin, the Emir of the Majlis Ashura of North America. The Majlis Ashura represents over 7 million Muslims and their organizations throughout the United States of America and Canada. He is one of the senior members of the City of Atlanta Majlis Ashura, a leadership council that represents the 18 masjids throughout the city. Imam Jamil is the resident imam of the community masjid, which is the oldest established masjid in the City of Atlanta. The City of Atlanta, the state capital of Georgia, is located in the southeast region of the United States. The City of Atlanta is over 1,000 square miles in area and is one of the fastest growing and most dynamic cities in the United States. For the past 20 years, Imam Jamil has dedicated himself to cultivating the consciousness of regular prayer upon the Muslims, insisting upon the Islamic code of conduct, fostering brotherhood and discipline among all groups of Muslims, and propagating the same code of conduct to non-Muslims through Islam. The Imam is now encouraging Muslims in the United States and Canada, and the statement doesn't say it, but I would include, and the Caribbean, to use their broad resources and good planning to maximize their strength in order to gain influence in the areas where they reside through the development of their own social, industrial, and commercial institutions, which will serve them and gain leverage for Islam. The Islamic Village, an economic development program, is the mechanism chosen by the Imam to illustrate his vision for developing Muslim communities and institutions in North America. The project includes an urban institution and a land-based village with a diversified commercial industrial base and a cluster of collaborative agencies that provide contractual services for the execution, administration of the project. The project requires $47 million U.S. currency for capitalization over a period of 5 years and will be secured by attracting capital to our endowment foundations and several commercial and industrial investment portfolios. This is a micro composite of the dimension of the overall project. We have designed the project to be both practical and self-sustaining in design and organization, emphasizing the Islamic values and parameters, yet avoiding the aesthetic expense found in many similar projects. A detailed project presentation, including a 15-minute video, standard documentation, support letters, schedules, cost projections, exhibits that illustrate various features of the project, and a comprehensive overview of the project are available for presentation to interested supporters. Proposed Islamic Rural Living Complex, Whitehall, Alabama. The Islamic village is set up on 100 square acres of land in Whitehall, Alabama. The Islamic Village Living Complex is designed to facilitate all the needs of a vibrant, effective community. The design includes retail stores, an exercise facility, farmland, a meat processing and distribution plant, a conference center and lodging complex, medical center and pharmacy, camp area, and even a functioning airstrip. All of this is surrounded by 9 well-placed security cabins and the beautiful Alabama River running through its back porch. In reference to the rural living, there is nothing that cannot be satisfied by the present design of the rural living complex in Whitehall, Alabama. The Islamic Living Complex is without a doubt a model for community living in North America. So this project, which had been developing, there was already a mosque started in Whitehall, Alabama, in that 100 square foot acres of land that's mentioned in the proposal. And there was already housing development underway, and with people renting apartments in housing developments that were under the control and under the administration of the community mosque. The mayor of Whitehall, John Williams, at that time had taken his shahada, had become Muslim, and many of the residents of Whitehall had become Muslim. Whitehall, Alabama, as you know, for people who can study the map and know the well-known story of the Pettus Bridge incident, Whitehall, Alabama is that area that's right across from the Pettus Bridge. It's an area where the people are known to believe in self-determination and believe in self-defense, which is one of the reasons why the second march at the Pettus Bridge was a peaceful march, because people knew if they tried something like that again, they would be met with meet the resistance of an armed population. So in order to thwart that, many people came from all over the country, in fact, all over the world, so that there wouldn't be a major battle, a major armed battle at the Pettus Bridge between the Klan and the residents of Whitehall, Alabama. Whitehall, Alabama had been also, during that time, it had been the model city for the developing Rounds County Freedom Organization, which was organizing to put residents in office of mainly the African population who had been denied the vote up until that voter registration and voter education period, which was led by H. Rap Brown. So it was an area that he personally was very familiar with, and the people were very familiar with him. And the older people in the community were familiar with him, as well as the younger people in the community were very familiar with him. This is the background of what was going on the part of the state when they decided that they needed to attack H. Rap Brown, now known as Imam Jamil, once again. Needed because he was in leadership of the development of this complex, which was a model for Muslims and non-Muslims alike, and a model that would be recognized around the world.
Oh, Bilal, that's just wonderful information. Thank you so much for sharing all of that. I do want our listeners to know that you are listening to WRFG Atlanta 89.3 FM. And the program is Just Peace. I'm here with co-producer Ernest Dunkley, and we're talking with Bilal Sunni Ali about the remarkable work of the remarkable Imam Jamil Al-Amin, who is in prison now in Arizona. We'll talk a little bit about what's happening with his case, but what we wanted to do in particular this evening is to go into some of the history of his work, and we wanted to talk in particular also about Jamil's work or the plans that he had and was working on in Whitehall, Alabama. So thank you so much for sharing all of that, Bilal. After this incident took place in Atlanta, he drove to Alabama because he had work to do there, right? So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, the evening is the beginning of a day. In other words, we don't count the start of the day as sunrise, but we count it as the prior sunset. So this was on March 16th, 2000, was the eve of a very special day to Muslims known as the Eid al-Adha, is the day of sacrifice. It is the day in which we commemorate the Prophet Abraham. Prophet Abraham had a vision in which he saw himself sacrificing his son, and so he prepared to do it. And he told his son about the vision, and the son agreed. So this was seen as complete submission to the will of Allah on the part of him and his son. And when he was about to actually slit the throat of his son, a ram appeared in the bush, and because in the dream he didn't actually slit the throat of his son, but he saw himself about to slit the throat of his son. So when he fulfilled that part of the vision, it was stopped and a ram appeared, and he was told that he had fulfilled that part of the vision, and his willingness to do it was shown. So we celebrate this. It's part of the annual pilgrimage to the mosque of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. And in that annual pilgrimage, we celebrate the day of the sacrifice. And so that's what the March 16th, the morning March 17th, would have been the actual day that we celebrated, but the evening was the beginning of that day. And that was the evening that the shooting incident had gone down. I had been to the prayer Imam Jamil led in the afternoon. So when I came back that evening, I had no expectation of seeing Imam Jamil because he had told all of us he was going to be going to Whitehall.
So let me just ask you, he had already told you that he was going to be doing that earlier in the day or the day before?
Yeah, because that was going to be the first celebration, observance of the day of the day of the sacrifice in Whitehall, Alabama.
Right. Shift gears here for just a moment, Bilal, because one of the authorities in Alabama, I think it was the sheriff in Alabama, actually, they'd given him like an honorary something, right? And that's what they were giving him go ahead.
They had made him an honorary policeman.
Yeah, an honorary policeman, yeah.
Yeah, he was an auxiliary policeman because of the work. I mean, many people know Imam Jamil and know H. Rap Brown for his athletic abilities, and even in prison he excelled in football. Had he had a normal career outside of all these attempted arrests and attempts to put him in life, he probably would have gotten football scholarships to go to any college he wanted. But he was known for his athletic progress and for always working amongst the young people. So because he worked with the young people in Alabama, the mayor of Alabama had awarded him...
Is it the mayor of Whitehall? The mayor of Whitehall. Okay.
Whitehall, Alabama, had awarded him a certificate of honor and a badge as an auxiliary policeman on the auxiliary police force, which is a police force that supports, just supports various activities. It's not making him an actual policeman or a sheriff's deputy or a policeman of the Whitehall Police Department, but a badge that indicated he was an auxiliary policeman. And he had that badge when he was arrested in the incident which led to the arrest and the shooting. Like I said, it's the complete story of H. Rap Brown, Imam Jamil, is a very long and complicated.
No, right. But let's just step back here for just a moment, then we'll get back to Whitehall, because what happened, he got that honorary policeman badge, right? And when he was stopped for speeding when he was coming back from Alabama to Atlanta, and the Atlanta police accused him of impersonating a policeman. Isn't that correct?
Right. He was in
Cobb County. Thank you. Cobb County.
The police stopped him because they said the vehicle looked suspicious.
Right.
And so he was...
Did they say why that was the case?
They did say, but they said that they claimed that the vehicle that he was driving in was a stolen vehicle.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
When he showed papers to show where he got it from, it was later discovered that the lot that he bought it from was involved in a car theft ring.
Oh, I see. My goodness. Yeah. Okay.
They never arrested the people who operated the car lot, or sought to investigate the car theft ring. They just continued to persecute Imam Jamil, and then claimed that he was trying to impersonate a police officer when they saw the badge. Not that he flashed the badge, but that they saw the badge as they were searching his warrant and asked him what that was, and he said that it was a badge indicating that he was part of the auxiliary police force in Whitehall, Alabama. And he got a letter from the mayor of Alabama to be presented in court to show proof of that.
I see. Yeah. But what happened in Atlanta is because of this incident with the car, I guess, right, and with the badge that he had. The Atlanta police were coming to issue some kind of warrant against him or something. Go ahead.
In Cobb County, on the day that he went to court, he didn't come to court. He had a prior engagement, but he had his lawyer come to court, and two representatives from the masjid came to court to ask for a stay. And it was a snowstorm that day. Because there was a snowstorm, the judge dismissed the court. But I guess once he dismissed the court, the FBI must have told him, no, this is the day you were supposed to keep Imam Jamil and put him in jail. So the judge went back in the courtroom after dismissing the courtroom and dismissing everyone in the courtroom, and called the name of Jamil Al-Amin and then issued a warrant for non-appearance. And that was the bogus warrant that was allegedly being served on him the night of March 16th, 2000.
Oh, Bilal, you have this wonderful, detailed information. Okay, so that was the warrant, and the two deputy sheriffs, right? Go ahead. Let's talk.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And the other one, the ex-Marine sharpshooter, said that he shot his assailant.
And he also, didn't he say something about the eyes as well? The eyes?
Oh, yeah. The surviving deputy who survived that shooting incident said that his mother always told him to look a man in the eyes, and he will never forget those cold gray eyes. And Imam Jamil has dark brown eyes. And also, this is just to talk about this. That's what he said. He gave a false description. But when he was asked, the thing that we know is that Imam Jamil wore prescription glasses, and that those prescription glasses had a yellow tint to him. So there's no way he could look Imam Jamil in the eye and see cold gray eyes. So
Wow.
whoever looked in the eyes and saw cold gray eyes, that had to be somebody different. Whoever he looked in the eyes, he also said that the person was 5'8", whereas Imam Jamil was 6'5". So whoever was 5'8" with cold gray eyes, who he shot twice in the chest and once in the head, was not Imam Jamil Al-Amin. Imam Jamil was not the assailant and the shooter in that incident that night.
Bilal, we're going to play a quick announcement here, and we'll be back in a moment. And our time has gone so quickly, so we'll continue with this discussion, but I'm going to want to get you back to go into more details yet again. But all right, stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back in just a moment. Stay tuned. So our time has just gone so quickly. I can't believe this. You're just full of all of this wonderful, detailed information. I do want to mention that Jamil did drive to Whitehall, Alabama, because there was work to do there, right? And and there was already, this is, to me, just shows the coordinated effort on the part of the FBI. There was already an FBI agent there in Whitehall at the property, right? Am I correct?
So there were a number of Whitehall agents in Whitehall.
A number of FBI agents in Whitehall?
Yeah.
Yes, right. Okay, go ahead.
Who had gone allegedly on the search for Imam Jamil.
Right.
When one of them, who was not assigned to that, a particular, what we call a rogue agent, this is an agent who, like, his name was Campbell. And this is a person who, rogue agent, he doesn't work by assignment. He works on his own. When he feels like getting on a case, he gets on the case. And he was one of those people he's known for making assaults on Muslims in other places of the country. He's known for killing a young Muslim, 15-year-old young man up in Philadelphia just a few years before that incident. And this Ron Campbell, rogue agent, is the one who said that he found the weapon. And he was prepared to...
He found the weapon what weapon? What weapon?
Found the weapons that were used in the shooting incident in
Atlanta. Okay, yeah, right.
This rogue agent is the one who says he found those weapons. I see on television that when they mention it, they always show some weapons laying in the ground. But this agent said he found the weapons, and they were wrapped up. So there's so many twisted stories. What they show you on television, they never say that these are the weapons. They just talk about 8 weapons were found in the woods in Whitehall. But the rogue agent, is Ron Campbell, says that he found the weapons wrapped in a sheet or a towel or something of that nature and brought them in. This same rogue agent said that Imam Jamil had shot at him. And when Imam Jamil was taken into custody, this shooting was going on, and people in Whitehall, Alabama, was noticing the shooting going on and were watching the shooting on because they were in their residence. So when there's some shooting, they're wondering what's going on. But this rogue agent had a whole story about how Imam Jamil tried to kill him, that he could feel the bullets as they whizzed by his ear. And they were going to charge Imam Jamil with attempted murder on federal agents. That trial was dropped. They were going to try to pursue with that before the state charges in Atlanta. But and he was being held in Alabama at the time. But he had been taken into custody. I don't remember his full name, but we referred to him affectionately as Big John. It was a big brother who was the sheriff deputy in Lowndes County, had taken him into custody, and he had asked him to lay on the floor and handcuffed, and had searched him, and he didn't have any arms on him. And when the FBI realized that he was already in custody, they stopped their charade of a shootout in the woods in Whitehall and came to the sheriff's headquarters. And when they saw Imam Jamil laying there on the floor, they spit on him, stomped him, and jumped on him. And if it had not been for Big John, may his soul rest in peace, because he was mysteriously killed earlier in this year.
Big John. Wait, if it were not for Big John, who's Big John again?
Big John is the sheriff's deputy.
Oh, the sheriff's deputy. Okay, yeah. In Whitehall? In Whitehall?
In Whitehall.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
All right.
The federal agent, the rogue agent, Ron Campbell, who was not even assigned to be there, from doing further harm and injury, possibly killing Imam Jamil.
Wow. So there was. It seems clear to me there was just a really coordinated effort on the part of the powers that be to make sure they knew. They obviously knew he was going to be going to Whitehall, right? And so they coordinated an effort to be there and set him up.
Right.
Seems like that to me.
As we always say, man plans and Allah plans, but surely Allah is the best of planners. So their plan didn't work.
Right.
They even have a story about how he drove that car to Whitehall, and they got the car in Whitehall, and it's riddled with bullets. But if you examine the car, you see the trajectory from which the holes in the car were from right on top of the car. And the story of the sheriff deputies in their shooting incident with someone in Atlanta, it doesn't lend itself to anyone standing on top of the car and shooting holes through the top of the car. We were able to examine the car because when we celebrated the Eid al-Adha 2 years from that time, the car was in custody impounded at City Hall East, Atlanta City Hall East, on Ponce de Leon. And that's where we had our Eid celebration. And so we noticed the car, Imam's car was there in the impound. And we looked at it. So that was, again, when we say, man plans and Allah plans. And surely Allah is the best of planners. Because we were able to see that what they were saying was a lie. Maybe, but and that those holes in the car, there were certainly bullet holes in the car, but there certainly wasn't bullet holes from a shooting incident or from a shootout with sheriff deputies. Those holes were put in that car.
Oh, Bilal, our time has just gone so quickly. We're going to have to wind down here. I can't believe this.
We are pressing for a new trial.
So there is pressure for a new trial, but I thought that was not happening. Is that correct? Yeah,
but what has happened is that former mayor and Ambassador Andrew Young made a plea they had an inaugural meeting of the district attorneys has formed this committee to investigate old cases. And Ambassador Young was at that meeting, and he made a plea and a request that one of the cases that they reinvestigate and reopen up would be the case of Imam Jamil
So
Al-Amin.
when was that meeting? When was that meeting, Bilal?
Meeting was held, I think, either January or February of this year.
Oh, I was not aware of that. That's just wonderful. Okay, so, all right, good. Well, I'm going to talk with other folks as well, and we'll get an update on that. So I just want our listeners to know, Bilal has lived a long time in Atlanta, but he lives all over the place, including in Belize. Are you going to be here for a while, Bilal?
Yeah, I'm going to be here until the Riada. The Riada is our annual gathering.
Okay.
National gathering of our community, and it's held in 2 years in a particular locale. It was held in Atlanta last year, and this is the second year it'll be held in Atlanta before it goes to another city. And that is going to be at the end of July. So I'll be in the area until the end of July.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So we're going to get you back on here and go into some more of this detail. I'm wanting to thank you so much, Bilal. It's just so incredibly informative, right, Ernest Dunkley?
Of course, Heather. Yeah.
Not too much detail because we got to save some of it for the actual trial. We want to
No, okay, fair enough. That's fair enough.
That's a very good idea.
So I'll say after the conference with the attorneys, I'll say what I can say.
Right.
And hope said too much already, but there's so much that points to his innocence that we just overwhelmed sometimes with the fact that they convicted him and has had him locked up for over
way too long. It's just outrageous. Yeah. All right, Bilal, thank you so much for sharing all this. It's so appreciated. Thanks again for your great work. Thank you. Thank you. All right. So we'll talk again soon. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
I want to ask also people to please make your pledges and fulfill your pledges to WRFG.
Yes. We didn't have a chance to even talk about that this evening. Thank you.
Talk about it, but we wouldn't have had a chance to talk about the things we talked about if WRG had not been existent, had you not been pledging and fulfilling your pledges for these past 44 years and keeping us on the air. I want to thank your listening audience very much for all of their hard work and continued support.
All right. Thanks, Bilal. All right. Take care now. Thanks.